Assalamualaikum everyone, I am Shafar Zara. Today our topic of discussion is regulation of transcription in eukaryotes. Let's start our topic. Although gene expression in eukaryotes it is far more complex than that in bacteria, but the basic principle is same in both. And in eukaryotes the gene expression is regulated primarily at the level of initiation of transcription. However, some regulation can also take place at the subsequent steps as well. And just like in bacteria, the eukaryotic cell transcription in eukaryotic cell as well, transcription is controlled by proteins, and these proteins they bind to the specific regulatory sequences, and they are responsible to modulate the activity of RNA polymerase. Then you have transcription regulatory proteins. These transcription regulatory proteins they are responsible for regulating gene expression in many differentiated cell types. And you know that in eukaryotes the DNA it is packaged into chromatin. So this feature and as well as the modification by methylation. So what happened because of these two features, it imparts the further level of complexity to the control of eukaryotic gene expression. Means these both features made the eukaryotic gene expression far more complex. Now let's discuss 6 acting regulatory sequences, promoter and enhancer. As we have already discussed that transcription in bacteria it is regulated by the binding of protein, and so these proteins are binded basically to 6 acting sequences. For example, if you take the example of lac operator, and these lac operator we have already discussed. So these proteins they basically control the transcription of adjacent genes. Before we move ahead, here I want to tell you that there are two types of regulatory elements: cis regulatory elements and trans regulatory elements. Cis regulatory elements they are present on the same molecule of DNA as the gene they regulate. So the difference of between the cis and the trans is that in trans regulatory elements they can regulate gene distant from the gene from which they were transcribed. Means they can regulate gene that is present at the distance from the gene from which they were transcribed. So this was the difference between the cis and trans regulatory elements. So cis is basically present in the lac operator because you know that the genes are together, they are present near to each other. Similar cis acting sequences which I have told you, they are also regulate the expression of eukaryotic genes as well, and these sequences a large number of these sequences they have been identified in the mammalian cell largely, and these have been identified through the use of gene transfer assays, and these assays have been used to study the activity of suspected regulatory regions of the cloned genes. We will discuss that how this technique is being used in the successive slides. So the eukaryotic regulatory sequences they are usually ligated to the reporter gene, and this reporter gene it encodes an easily detectable enzyme. A reporter gene is actually in molecular biology it is a gene that is such as attached to the regulatory sequence of an other gene of interest in bacteria, cell culture, animal or plant. So it is basically a reporter. You can say it's the report name indicates what is its function. The expression of this reporter gene following its transfer in the culture cells. First this reporter gene will express, then you will transfer it in the culture cells. It provides a sensitive assay for the ability of the clone regulatory sequence to direct transcription. And these biologically active regulatory sequence regions they can be identified, and through in vitro mutagenesis they can be used to determine the role of specific sequences within the region. So this entire process was to identify the specific roles of the sequences within the region. Now let's understand this process through the diagram. Here you can see the regulatory sequence reporter gene is being marked. So let's see what happens. Regulatory sequence first we take, it is the regulatory sequence is taken from the clone eukaryotic gene. So this regulatory sequence in green we have taken it from the clone eukaryotic gene. What we do is we ligate this regulatory sequence to the reporter gene. This reporter gene is shown in the red, and this reporter gene is it encodes an easily detectable enzyme. I have told you this before. After this you can see it results in the plasmid DNA. After this plasmid DNA, it is then introduced into the cultured recipient cells, means that can take cells. So the cultured recipient cells by transfection. Transfection is basically the process by which a foreign gene is being introduced in the eukaryotic cell. So this it is introduced by transfection in the culture recipient cells, and then later on what happened after this transfection, an active regulatory sequence, it directs the transcription of the reporter gene. So what will happen, you can see here in the diagram that here this reporter gene, it will be transcribed, and then later on this it will be expressed, and which is then detected in the form of transfected cells. So these are all the, you can see here. Okay, so this is the entire process, and this is how the eukaryotic regulatory sequences, they are being identified. Then you have promoters and enhancers. So the genes that are transcribed by RNA polymerase II, they have two core promoter elements. These two core promoter elements are TA box and INR sequence, and you know that these both serve as specific binding sites for the general transcription factors. Other than these, other cis actin sequences are also present, and these cis actin sequences, they serve as binding sites for a wide variety of regulatory factors that control the expression of individual genes. And these cis actin regulatory sequences, they are frequently found upstream of the TA box, means they are found present before the TA box. Here we will take the example of herpes simplex virus gene. In herpes simplex virus, basically this gene encodes for thymidine kinase, and these two regulatory sequences have been identified in herpes simplex virus gene, and these regulatory sequences they are also found in eukaryotes. So for the first time, these two regulatory sequences were found in herpes simplex virus gene, which is also the feature of eukaryotes. Both the sequences, they are located within the 100 base pairs upstream of the TA box, and their consensus sequences you can see are CC-AAT and GGC-GG. I have told you that what the consensus sequence is in the last lecture, we have discussed it. Here you can see the structure of herpes simplex virus gene. You can see the promoter, you can see here, this is TA box. So before this TA box, three sequence elements are present upstream of this. You can see here, this one, this triple G C double G, then double C double AT, and then triple G C double G. So these are present 100 base pairs upstream of this TA box, and these are required for the efficient transcription. And this there are two boxes. Look, pink one is triple G C double G, and the one blue one is double C double AT. And the consensus sequence I have already told you what is it. So it is the eukaryotic promoter. So in the previous slide we have discussed some herpes thymidine kinase promoter structure. So now let's see that the structure of that herpes was comparatively simple, but in many mammalian cells, many genes in mammalian cells, they are controlled by regulatory sequences that are located farther away from the transcription start site. Means herpes simplex was only 100 base pairs away, but in many mammalian cells and the genes, the regulatory sequences, they are present several, or you can say 1000 base pairs upstream, or in some cases it is just 10 kilobases. So these sequences that are present far away from the promoter, or you can say the transcription start site, they are known as enhancers, and these enhancers were first identified by Walter Scheffner in 1981, and during his studies of the promoter of another virus, that was SV40. So what is the difference between the SV40 and this herpes virus is that in SV40, in addition to the TA box and a set of 6 GC boxes, 272 base pairs repeats, they are also located farther upstream, and the function of this 72 base pair repeats is basically to make the process of transcription efficient. We will discuss its structure in the next slide. So, and one more feature of this 72 base pair repeat is that these sequences they stimulate transcription from other promoters as well, and they are independent of their position, or you can say their orientation, means whether they are present upstream or downstream, or they are present in the either in the forward or the backward orientation, they will function effectively. Here in the diagram you can see the structure of SV40 enhancer, and here this is TAA box, and then these are GC boxes. GC boxes you have studied in, we have discussed in the herpes virus as well, but here these GC boxes they are present upstream. Firstly they are present upstream of the TAA box, and there are 6 GC boxes, and these 6 GC boxes which you can see in the pink color, they are present in 3 sets of repeated sequences. And the major difference here is that in addition to this GC boxes, there is a 72 base pair repeats, and the 72 base pair repeats which you can see in the brown color, it is the enhancer, and its function is to make the transcription more effective. Now let's see that how the enhancer perform its function. So here in the diagram you can see, okay, here is the it is the P promoter, it is the gene, it is the basal transcription. So let's see what happens without the enhancer. So in the A1, this one, it is without the enhancer, you can see. So you can see here that the gene is transcribed at the low basal level. Low basal level means, basal level actually means it is the expression level of messenger RNA or a protein, and it determines that how much a cell or a tissue it produces a given messenger RNA or protein during normal circumstances. So high basal level means that it has produced a good quantity of messenger RNA or proteins, and low means that it has produced less amount of messenger RNA or proteins under normal circumstances. So here you can see that it is the low basal transcription means it is a produce less amount of messenger RNA. Now let's see what happens when the enhancer is being added or it is being. So let's take the example of SV40. We have discussed that in SV40 there is 72 base pair repeats enhancer, and it stimulates transcription. So let's see how. Look, you can see the difference is evident in the diagram in this both A and B. When the enhancer was not present, then it was low basal level, but when the enhancer is being added, the transcription product is really high. You can see how it has improved the transcription quantity of transcription product. And lastly, we have discussed that the enhancer, despite of its, regardless of its position, means either it is present upstream or downstream, it will work effectively. Here in the this one C1, you can see it is present upstream, so you can see that again the product is really in large amount, and here it is present downstream, so it is again producing the same quantity of the product. So this was all that how enhancer works, and regardless of its position and regardless of its orientation, it is active, and it makes the process of transcription effective. Okay, now, so as we have discussed that the enhancers has the property to function even when they are separated by long distances from the transcription initiation site. So this property of enhancers, it suggested that initially that they work by mechanism that is different from those of the promoters, other than like they don't work in the same way as the promoter functions. But later on it was found that the enhancer like promoter, they function by binding transcription factors, and these transcription factors then regulate RNA polymerase. So this binding of transcription factors to the enhancer, it is possible through DNA looping, and because DNA looping it allows the transcription factor to bound to a distant enhancer, and later on to interact with the RNA polymerase, or you can say the general transcription factors at the promoter. Transcription factor bound to distant enhancer can thus work by the same mechanism as those bound adjacent to the promoters. So there is no fundamental difference between the actions of enhancer and those of 6 actin regulatory sequences adjacent to the transcription start sites, which we have discussed above. And though these enhancers they were first discovered in the mammalian cell, but later on they have also been found in bacteria as well. So this was the first time when any eukaryotic studies have served as a model for the simpler prokaryotic systems. Here you can see the structure of DNA loop, enhancer, and the specific transcription factors that is being bound to the enhancer. Now let's see that what is the purpose of this binding of specific transcriptional regulatory proteins to enhancer. So this association is basically responsible for the control of gene expression during the development and differentiation, as well as during the response of cells to hormones and growth factors. So this is the purpose of this binding of specific transcriptional regulatory proteins to enhancers. One of the most thoroughly studied mammalian enhancers that controls the transcription of immunoglobulin genes, it was studied thoroughly in the B lymphocytes, and the gene transfer studies, or you can say experiments, have shown that the immunoglobulin enhancer, it is active in lymphocytes but not in the other types of cell. So this regulatory sequence, it shows that it is at least partly responsible for tissue specific expression of the immunoglobulin gene in the appropriate differentiated cell type. So this immunoglobulin is basically it is only active in immunoglobulin enhancer, it is active only in the lymphocytes. Another important aspect of the enhancer is that they usually contain multiple functional sequence elements, and these sequence elements, they bind different transcription regulatory proteins, and these proteins, they work together to regulate gene expression. For example, if we take the example of immunoglobulin, it has immunoglobulin having chain enhancer. अगर हम उसके example लें तो it spans approximately 200 base pairs, means इतना वो ये नहीं कि वो भारे size का है, and it contains at least 9 distinct sequence elements that serve as protein binding sites. और अगर for suppose if mutation takes place in any of these sequences, it reduces the activity of enhancer, but it does not abolish the activity of the enhancer. So this was all about the enhancers. Now let's discuss the transcriptional regulatory proteins. So the isolation of variety of transcription regulatory proteins, it has been based on their specific binding to the promoters and the enhancer sequences. So they have been isolated on the basis of their attachment to the promoter and the enhancer sequences. And the protein binding to these DNA sequences, they are commonly analyzed by two methods. The number one method is footprinting. Footprinting is actually the DNA footprinting, and it is the method of investigating the sequence specificity of DNA binding protein in vitro. So, and this technique can be used to study the protein DNA interaction both outside and inside the cell. So this DNA footprinting is used for this purpose, and here it is used to understand the process, to analyze the process that how proteins are binding to these DNA sequences. The second type is electrophoretic mobility shift assay. We will discuss this in detail. So here in the diagram you can see the electrophoretic mobility shift assay. So how this function is that you take a DNA, radioactive labeled DNA sample, and this sample is divided into the two, and one half of the sample, it is incubated with the protein that binds to the specific DNA sequence. Then the samples, they are analyzed by the electrophoresis in the non-denaturing gel, so that the protein that is bound to the DNA, it remains bounded to it. And the protein binding, it is detected by the slower migration of DNA protein complexes compared to that of the free DNA. Only a fraction of the DNA in the sample, it is actually bound to the protein. So both DNA protein complexes and the free DNA are detected following incubation of the DNA with protein. So here you can see that in the diagram, you take the DNA fragment, it is a sample, you have divided into two parts. One, you incubate it with the protein, and the other is incubate without the protein. So this is the protein. What happens when you incubate with the protein is that the protein binds to the DNA, and here it is without DNA. So then you compare the distance that is being covered by both through the electrophoresis gel, and this gel is basically non-denaturing gel, and the the difference means that the speed at which both the fragments they migrate, one DNA protein complex and the free DNA migrate, it shows it gives you the result. So this is the entire process of electrophoretic mobility shift. So the first prototype of the eukaryotic transcription factor, it was initially identified by Robert Tijian and his colleagues during his studies of the transcription of SV40 DNA. So they were studying this SV40 DNA, and during this study they found a factor known as SP1, and this SP1 is basically the abbreviation of specificity protein 1, and it was found to stimulate, they found that this SP1 it stimulates transcription from the SV40 promoter, but not from the several other promoters that are present in the free cell structures. Okay, but what they noticed is that the stimulation of transcription by SP1, it was found to depend on the presence of GC box. We have discussed what was the GC box in the SV40 promoter. If these sequences were deleted, means if this GC boxes they were deleted, stimulation by SP1 was abolished. If the GC will be present, then it will stimulate the process, but if the GC boxes they are removed, then this SP1 will not stimulate this process. So their working depends upon this GC boxes. And so the results which they obtained, it indicated that the GC boxes represent a specific binding site for the transcriptional activator, that is SP1. So this SP1 is basically the transcriptional activator, and this GC box is basically the specific binding site for this transcriptional activator. Similar other experiments have also shown that many other transcriptional regulatory sequences, including the CCAAT sequence that is written there, and the various other sequence elements of the immunoglobulin enhancer. We have discussed this sequence CCAAT sequence in the immunoglobulin enhancer while we were studying this. They also represent the recognition sites for sequence specific DNA binding protein. So as you have seen that SP1 is sequence specific binding protein, so other such proteins have also been determined up till now. Here are some of the examples of transcription factors and their binding site, DNA binding site. So the first is specificity protein 1, SP1, which I have discussed. So I have told you that it binds, it will bind to the GC box. So the GC box sequence we have discussed was triple G C double G. Then you have double CAAT, or you can also call it as enhancer binding protein EBP. So its consensus binding site is double CAAT. Then you have activator protein AP1, and the consensus binding site for it is TGA-CTCA. The fourth one is the octamer binding protein. Its consensus binding sequence is ATG-CAAT. So these you bind only to this sequences. Lastly, you have E-box binding proteins, and these includes E12, E47, E2-2. So its consensus binding sequence is CA-NNTG. So these were some of the transcription factors and their consensus binding sequence. So the specific binding protein binding of SP1 to the GC box, it not only showed that the action of SP1 as the sequence specific transcription factor, but it also introduced a technique that is known as affinity chromatography, because the SP1 it is present in a very small quantity. So it was really a formidable challenge in order to isolate it and in order to purify it. So to overcome this challenge, affinity chromatography was being introduced, and so what we have discussed is affinity chromatography in our last lecture, that how this process is being carried out. You can see in the diagram. So what happened in this is that the multiple copies of oligonucleotide, I have told you that there is a solid sport that is being used in it. So oligonucleotide copies that are corresponding to the GC box, because you know that SP1 it binds to the GC. So these oligonucleotides corresponding to the GC box sequence, they were bound to the solid sport, and The cell strains then were passed through the oligonucleotide column. So as a result of the binding between, because the column was made up of that oligonucleotides that were corresponding to the GC box, these sp1 they bound to the GC box with high affinity and they retained to the column, while other proteins they were not. Just like we have discussed in that one RNA purification, the same process is here. The sp1 proteins they will bind to the GC box, whereas other will not. So you can see that how this process is being carried out. Here you can see the diagram, it is being shown the GC box DNA column, GC box is being used, then you can see that sp1 is being added and the mixture of the cell proteins is being added. So sp1 is, you have black one. So what will happen, you can see here this black one, because this is sp1 and it binds to the GC box, so it will bind to this solid sport. And as a result, when you will use the high salt buffer, that is usually sodium chloride is used, so as a result it will break the bonding between the column, between the solid spot and this sp1, and this sp1, purified sp1 will be received, or you can say you can achieve this sp1. So this was all about today's lecture. In the next lecture we will study structure and function of transcriptional activators, and these are the references. If you want to study this in the written form and you want to study in detail, more detail, and understand these all the concepts, you can consult these sites which I have shown you, and I hope that you have understand all this. Thank you for watching. Allah Hafiz.